We have, oh, we don't have 9 members, do we? As we just lost 2 members. So we have 7 members. So is a quorum 4?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. I don't, well, I think we'll be fine then. Oh, we got 4, so we're okay.
I think they want us to mute pretty soon. Is that correct, Samantha or Stephen?
Absolutely, sir.
Let me call the meeting to order. I'm John Sarber, the chair of the Environmental Commission, and we're going to have our green theme first. Welcome to Lori Welch, who's the sustainability manager for the city of Lansing. She's going to talk to us tonight about the Capital Area Sustainability Partnership and the new recycling facility in the Lansing area. So with that, Lori, let me give you the floor.
Great, thanks, John. I'm going to try and share my screen, so let's see how that goes. Can you all see my screen?
Looks very good.
Yay, success. I love that. Okay, so I'm just going to dive right in. So thank you all for having me. As John said, I'm the sustainability manager for the city of Lansing, and I was asked to talk a little bit about the new MRF that's coming to town, that's here, that's soon to open. And then I'll end on a little bit of information about the Capital Area Sustainability Partnership. So I'll just dive right in and kind of started off with this first slide with a map, because I'm not sure who knows where this facility is. But it is very centrally located. That's 496 along the top here, and this is Pennsylvania running along the center here. So it's at 1159 South Pennsylvania, and it's right at Hayco Drive. And I mention that because some of you may be familiar with Hayco Drive because there's a Board of Water and Light customer service center there. So just wanted to give you a general idea of the location. And this is kind of a true public-private partnership. Lansing and East Lansing have been working together for years now to combine our tonnage, and it's being shipped to a MRF in Detroit run by Republic. But we have a long-term agreement now to dedicate that tonnage and send it to the new Mterra MRF in Lansing. And how it's set up is Lansing is the one with the contract with Mterra, a 10-year contract. And then Lansing and East Lansing have an intergovernmental agreement. So that's what allows us to work together. And, you know, it's always been the intention, as Lori knows, that this MRF is hopefully going to turn into a true regional MRF. And there's where there's other communities and surrounding townships and other folks who are sending their materials there as well. And it was always our intention to um, combine forces as much as possible and do like what Lansing and East Lansing are doing, combining their tonnage and with this agreement in place so that we can all benefit from that economies of scale. That pooled tonnage allows us to get a better processing rate. So I do feel like there's still room for townships like Meridian, perhaps, if there's interest to talk about how we might work together in the future. And I'd be very interested in doing that. Might not be the time tonight, but I just wanted to mention that there is still time to work together and things like that. So I wanted to also give you a little bit of an idea about what goes on inside of a MRF, and maybe you all are familiar with that. I'm not certain what your level of understanding is with that, but I'll talk a little bit about it. And first, this photograph up on top is the outside of the MRF, which is an older picture, although it doesn't look a whole lot different from that right now. They have invested millions on the inside, but not a whole lot on the outside yet. So I know that later this spring, they're planning to do some landscaping and put some additional signage out. And so when you drive by, you'll actually know what's there. Right now, you could drive by and easily miss it. And some of these other photographs here are some from their older or from another MRF. We'll get in and take pictures and do a lot of press when the announcement that grand opening comes. But for right now, we have some older photos just to show what happens in a MRF. And this is where, single stream materials go to be sorted and separated. There's a lot of high tech equipment within the MRF that does the sorting for us. There's also some hand sorting, but in the end, you get these lovely bales of material, and they are all packaged and ready to be shipped out to market to be made into new products. And this MRF, because it's so brand new, is going to have a lot of state-of-the-art equipment, specialized glass cleaning equipment that will allow them to get a better quality of glass in the end. And there's a robotic sorter for like paper cups and food packaging stuff. So some really neat features in there that we're pretty excited about. And, just miscellaneous information and updates, because I wasn't quite sure what you all knew about this facility or the history behind it. But, it was always our intention to make it a regional MRF. And part of the benefit to everybody who uses it is consistent education. Because right now, we all have different recycling guidelines depending on who our processor is, depending on who your hauler is and where they take material. So, you might have a different set of criteria for if you live in Holt than they do in Grand Ledge or Okemos or East Lansing. And it would be very nice for all of us to have that same common suite of materials so that we could, educate our residents the same way, reduce confusion, hopefully reduce contamination. So I'm hopeful that many of us will begin to use this facility, and that will be the result. For Lansing and East Lansing, we don't have to haul across the state anymore. So that'll be a huge benefit to us because we send nearly a semi or two every single day to Detroit. And that's obviously a lot of money, but it's also, a lot of fuel and more emissions that we don't care to have. So there's a lot of benefits to keeping that material local for us. And, of course, everybody wants to know when this MRF is going to be open. I just had a meeting with Terra earlier today, and they're getting very excited. I should probably have an official date tomorrow, but at this point, they're saying end of March, probably, that they'll do an official opening. Lansing has been sending material there for the last couple of weeks so that they can test their equipment and calibrate their machines and make sure that when they do open, everything will be running as efficiently as possible. So we're very, very close, and we're very, very excited about that. I just wanted to offer a few little just miscellaneous bits of information about Terra Environmental, because they'll be, they're a private company that most of us are unfamiliar with that have invested heavily in our area. They're women owned. Emmy Long, who is the owner, is just a powerhouse, and I hope you all get to meet her one day. She's got a really interesting story. She was an immigrant living in Canada and graduated from university and couldn't find a job. She had a language barrier, and she just decided to open up her own business, and it was collecting newspaper at the curb. And she grew it into this, very large and successful recycling business. So she's got an interesting story to share. But Mterra's always been very willing to talk to us and partner with us on a lot of different solid waste issues and challenges. And I think that they will be ready and willing to talk to us as a region too about how we can increase our recycling rate, increase our diversion rate, and come up with really some creative solutions to those issues. And it was really important to them to find an old site to refurbish. They didn't want to build new. It took them a very, very long time to find a suitable site. But when they finally did, they found an old industrial site that had been sitting vacant in Lansing for years. And so, we're pretty pleased to have that now be a successful, refurbished business. And it's brought over a dozen, I'm not sure exactly how many, but over a dozen new jobs to Lansing. And some of them are fairly high level, well-paying jobs. So it's just a great story. Some of the things that we'll be able to talk about more now that the MRF is actually going to be open for business and we can start having discussions beyond just getting open for business, is that we'll be including an education center that'll be located within the MRF. And this is something that we've talked about for a very long time. Even pre-COVID, we started to do fundraising for this, and we've secured almost $300,000 for this. Mterra's been consulting with their engineers to set aside space within the MRF so that we can have like classroom style learning and a virtual tour and lots of neat creative educational opportunities at the MRF. So we hope that will be kind of the next kind of phase 2 of this whole MRF relationship. We've also talked about having a drop-off site, and that would be a regional site that would hopefully go beyond materials traditionally accepted at the curbside. So, electronics and computers and mattresses and paint and all of those kind of harder to recycle things could be considered for that site and as a way to enhance our recycling and recovery efforts. We've also talked to Mterra all along about helping us increase our commercial and multifamily recycling rates. And I think that they are very interested in doing that for the region, as well as looking at collecting food waste and organics. So lots of potential here for really finding ways to increase our recovery rates. And let me see if there's one. Oh, that was all that I had for the Mterra presentation. I just have one quick slide to talk about the sustainability partnership, but I didn't know if I should pause here and see if there are any questions, or do you want me to just keep on going?
I'm cool to pause. Your timing is great. If people have a question or two, or we can, if you want to hold it to the end, that's fine too. Any questions? Looks like we can go ahead, Lori.
Okay, great. So, I was asked to talk a little bit about this capital area sustainability partnership, even though it's a pretty new, I don't even want to call it an organization, but it's a pretty new group. And it was originally started last year by myself and a couple of colleagues from East Lansing and MSU who started to talk about how, we're working on our own community sustainability plans, but it would be really nice to start talking as a region and finding what those common goals and priorities are so that we can work together, develop some best practices and just figure out how we can work together. And so we kind of surveyed some folks and reached out to see who might be interested in doing that, and found that there are a lot of people interested, and We actually have had a couple of phone calls now, and I know a couple of you have been on that. There were, I think, 25 different communities and organizations represented. And so that told us that there was a significant interest, and we kind of started to do this brainstorming exercise where we all are trying to indicate what our key priority areas are, who's doing what, and it will likely kind of turn into some focused work groups so that we can tackle a number of different issues. But one of the, I think, exciting developments here is that we have been able to partner with the Tri-County Regional Planning Commission, and you probably all know Cliff. He has been a part of this group and will be kind of taking over facilitating this group under the Tri-County Regional Planning umbrella. So what we're doing now is kind of pausing on this group. We'll likely meet again in April, and that pause will allow us to start thinking about what our mission and vision is or should be, and kind of starting to build a structure up so that we make sure we get this right. We want to build it right from the beginning and have the right people at the table. So I am very excited about the work that's going to come from this group, though, because I think that Tri-County Regional Planning, as many of you know, is pretty good at pulling a region together under these kinds of issues. And so with their tools and resources, I think this will be really great. And with that, I think that is all. Wanted to say thank you, and I do have my contact information. So if there's time, I can take a question. If not, feel free to reach out anytime afterwards, and I'm happy to discuss any of these issues another time.
Yeah, Lori, why don't you stop screen sharing so we can kind of see who has questions?
You bet.
Yeah, I've got one, you know, and this may be something you don't know. I'm just kind of curious, you know, if you think in terms of all the materials that get processed, do a lot of them end up with businesses, companies in Michigan or the Midwest or the whole country? Any sense for where all these materials go?
So I heard most of that, but my internet connection is telling me it's a little unstable now. So you started to cut out, but it sounds like you were asking about where the end markets are and if materials stay in Michigan. So currently, with our Republic contract, I can't say that all of them stay in Michigan, but most of them stay in North America. With Mterra, I have a greater degree of confidence that most of them will stay in locally. And we, I think, can talk to them specifically about where some of their end markets are. And they're very open and transparent about that. We just want to do our due diligence to make sure they're being handled responsibly.
I think Ned has a question.
I have all sorts of questions, but one of the things that I have relatively recently tuned into was, I know this is going to sound very strange. You know, Michigan is a source of one of the best qualities of sand in the world for making concrete. And I'm just wondering, you know, but actually it turns out that sand of appropriate quality for making concrete is a limited resource, and that's why certain places are getting exploited. And so it strikes me that ground up glass, if we knew how to grind it up right, to achieve the proper grain sizes and properties, could actually be a replacement for that. And that would be, it turns out concrete is something that makes such a large contribution to global warming, the processing of concrete, which is not the sand part, but anyway, that the whole ecology of concrete is something that is kind of high on people's lists who are interested in energy and the atmosphere and so forth. Anyway, but this would be another connection to recycling technology. And I was just wondering how does the glass get get recycled? I mean, you said they have a glass washing facility now, so evidently they're committed to actually recycling it as opposed to just crunching it up and throwing it away.
Yeah, so one of the interesting things about this MRF is that they have this new glass sorting equipment that will, from my understanding, allow them to actually capture and clean the glass rather than have like a lot of MRFs end up sweeping it out as residual because it all breaks and it falls down to the bottom and it's swept out into the piles. So we're going to have a higher recovery rate and a better quality product when it does get recovered. The specifics of how that technology works, I'm not familiar with. I'm not an expert in that equipment. And I'm pretty interested to know that too. But from what I have been told, it's much more efficient, higher quality recovery of glass in the end.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
I will say just this quickly, sorry about this. You know, I think we're all going to have a lot of these questions about what happens within the MRF. And I think we're all going to have an opportunity post-COVID restrictions to go to the facility, walk through, take a tour and ask them directly some of these questions. That's my hope one day. So I would encourage you all to take advantage of that opportunity when the time comes. And I think it's going to be really helpful to see that equipment up close, see the materials running through and you know, actually see how it's all working. And so I think that we'll be able to get some more clarity to your questions there.
Yeah, field trip.
Oh,
So
go
the
ahead,
other
Bill.
question that I just had one other thing, which is that you're very close, it's very close to the zoo. So is there any talk about sort of trying to coordinate educational events, whatever, resources? You know, the themes aren't identical, but there are connections.
We haven't discussed it specifically. We actually initially started to talk about that with Impression 5 because they do so much with science interactive exhibits and stuff, and they're right down the river trail from us. But we're open to discussing it with all sorts of community partners. So that's a neat idea. I haven't really thought about it. And I think we will be heading into much more comprehensive discussions about educational opportunities now that we are looking at an opening date. Like right up until now, it's been hyper focused on just getting the place open and running, but I expect to have more of those conversations now.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Bill.
Thanks for the excellent presentation. That's really exciting that this facility is coming to the region. I think my question stems from some prior discussions that Leroy has facilitated about our current situation. And you mentioned a site in Detroit where Lansing, East Lansing or Lansing is going. And at the moment, my understanding is our main hauler is going elsewhere. And I'm curious what we know about how that facility operates and some of the questions like Ned was asking about how much of the glass is recovered. And the sense I've gotten is that it's a little tricky to get information out of a site that's that far away. I guess my question is for Leroy. Can you say a little bit about where my garbage is going and where my recycling is going and how it compares to having a local facility?
Well, my understanding is that it goes north to Traverse City area through American Waste. Granger is our main hauler. And I'm hoping that we will be able to work to get that sorted locally. Because right now, American Waste is not real upfront on where, you know, how much is being recycled, how much is turning into waste energy, how much is being landfilled. Lori might have more detail on that. But it seems like there would be a lot of advantages for local processing. A big one also is a commitment to zero waste. So Mterra, while they might be more expensive in some, I don't know if they'll be more expensive or not. I haven't been shopping around, but there'll be some added incentive to use our local facility that's committed to zero waste rather than landfilling or waste to energy options. But Lori, feel free to add anything that you might know.
Yeah, I was just going to say this. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. We have limited ability to sort of tell Granger where they can take our recyclables, but you know, that's a little bit of a tricky situation, but I'm hoping that we might be able to partner in some way with them. Go ahead, Lori.
So yeah, my understanding is it's going to Traverse City, and I'm not familiar with American Waste either, but I would not be surprised if Granger ultimately maybe kept things local too. If they could save money on hauling, then I would imagine it would be in their best interest to send materials through this local MRF. I know they've been talking to MTerra and sending materials there to test as well. My hope is that we can all work together. And I think there's a lot of room for that, so that we can all take advantage of the higher tonnage processing rebates, because like East Lansing on their own doesn't have a whole lot of tonnage, but combined with ours, they're going to get a better processing rate. Meridian could potentially take advantage of that. Also, the difference is, of course, you don't collect and haul your own materials, so we have to kind of put the pieces together a little bit with your service provider, Granger. So I think there's room to have those open discussions, and I look forward to doing that.
Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, my question was pretty similar actually. I was just curious, you know, like where the recycling went, you know, once it got to the curb, but that was answered. So I'll just share a thought, I guess. This past fall, I took civil materials, and Ned, your point made me think quite a bit about the sustainability of concrete and asphalt, which my professor actually specializes in. And he says he travels all the time, mostly to Lansing. So I'm curious if there's some connection there. Maybe I'll send him an email asking him a little bit more about what he does, and I can share that with you guys. I know he specializes in recycling old tires into asphalt. So just a thought.
Do we
Thanks,
have
Ben.
any other questions for Lori? Okay, well, thank you, Lori, very much. Your presentation was very helpful to us to understand what's going on with MRF and the new partnership. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, our first item, of course, is the approval of the agenda. Does anybody want to add anything to the agenda? Okay, seeing no. Oh, Ned.
I would add, I wanted to, I guess I haven't really been the most prompt about coming to these meetings, but I wanted to add, I could discuss a little bit about some of the green grant proposal ideas. I don't know exactly how much should be discussed, but I could give you guys a little update with how the rain garden design is going.
Oh yeah, well, and that is on the agenda. So when we get to that item, we can talk about that. That'll be helpful.
Awesome. Cool. Yep.
Ned?
I just, I thought under old business, we should at least come back to the, or I guess I'm a little out of the loop. Where are we on environmental stewardship awards? Have we discussed them this year? we all
Why don't
sort of go.
we can put that on the agenda. Yep.
Okay.
Under new business. And any other additions to the agenda? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Bill, okay, second, Ned, all in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Moving on to the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Is there any additions to our minutes from last meeting? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting? Thank you, Rose, and then second. All in favor of approving the minutes, please raise your hand. Okay, let's see. we're up to public remarks. Is anybody would like to make public remarks at this time?
We
Hi,
can't
yes,
afford. Oh, go ahead.
this
Go
is,
ahead, Anna.
yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Colby. I'm just going to, oh, I've disappeared.
There's a sunset.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, nice.
I'm sitting in front of my computer, so I'm not sure what's happened there. But so thank you. First of all, thank you, Lori, for your presentation. I just wanted to take a moment to say hello and to introduce myself to everyone. So I have applied. Oh, there I am. Hello. I have applied for the to be on the Environmental Commission and also the Land Preservation Advisory Board. So I just wanted to say hello to you all, and I hope to be involved with the commission. To just say a little bit about myself, I have a decade of public policy experience, and I'm currently a senior research associate for public policy associates in Lansing, where I do policy research, program evaluation, and facilitation in the healthy communities policy area. I specifically have expertise in food assistance and food systems, and that really drives my interest in being on this commission, and also that I love the great outdoors. So just wanted to say hi and thank you all for your the work that you do, and I hope to have an opportunity to work with you all.
Well, thank you, Anna. Yeah, anybody else would like to make a public comment?
For those watching at home, you can, of course, dial in at 517-349-1232, and we can take public comment that way. You have no other attendees who would need to raise their hand. Everyone else has been promoted to a panelist.
Okay,
I'm
thank you.
hearing no telephone rings, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, moving on to new business. First item is recognition of Jim and Susan and their service on the Environmental Commission. As you all know, they've retired, resigned from the commission, so we do have the 2 vacancies now. And, you know, I understand that it's appropriate to actually read the resolutions to kind of into the record. And so, Leroy, can you kind of screen share those? Okay, I was wondering if I have a volunteer to read the resolution for Susan. Okay, Bill, go ahead.
Resolution of appreciation, Dr. Susan Maston, at a regular meeting of the Environmental Commission of Meridian Township, Ingham County, Michigan, held on the 3rd of March, 2021 at 7 p.m. Following resolution was offered by Commissioner McConnell and supported by Chair Sarver. Whereas Dr. Susan Maston has been a member of the Environmental Commission of Meridian Township since 2016, and whereas Dr. Susan Maston dedicated her time, energy, and expertise to the Environmental Commission, and whereas Dr. Susan Maston has attended and participated in numerous meetings, work sessions, study groups, special meetings to consider the day-to-day and future environmental issues and proposals, and whereas Dr. Susan Maston remains committed to engaging her students and colleagues in important community-related and timely environmental research and action. And whereas Dr. Susan Maston has participated in site visits, tromping through the woods to evaluate wetland impacts and permitting issues. And whereas Dr. Susan Maston thoughtfully participated in discussions, planning activities, thoughtful consideration of each request presented before the Environmental Commission during her terms. Now therefore be it resolved by the Environmental Commission of Meridian Township, Ingham County, Michigan as follows. The Environmental Commission of Meridian Township, by means of resolution, extends to Dr. Susan Maston grateful thanks for her voluntary effort on behalf of all residents of the community during her period of dedicated service on the Environmental Commission.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah. And let's all in favor of the resolution, please raise your hand. Okay, super. Okay, can we have a volunteer to read Jim's resolution?
I can do that.
Go ahead, Ned.
Resolution of appreciation, Dr. Jim Kilbasso, at a regular meeting of the Environmental Commission of Meridian Township, Ingham County, Michigan, held on the 3rd day of March, 2021 at 7 p.m. And all of us present, Chairperson Sarver, Vice Chair Vadnais, Commissioners McConnell, Jackson, Wazinski, and Frazier. The following resolution was offered by Ned Jackson and supported by Bill McConnell. Whereas Dr. Jim Kilbasso has served as a member and officer of the Environmental Commission of Meridian Township for over 22 years, and whereas Dr. Jim Kilbasso served as a member of and liaison to the Land Preservation Advisory Board for 14 years, and whereas Dr. Jim Kilbasso has attended and participated in numerous meetings, work sessions, study groups, and special meetings to consider day-to-day and future environmental issues and proposals, and whereas Dr. Jim Kilbasso thoughtfully participated in discussions, planning activities, thoughtful consideration of each request presented before the Environmental Commission during his terms, now, therefore, be it resolved by the Environmental Commission of Meridian Township, Ingham County, Michigan, as follows. The Environmental Commission of Meridian Township, by means of resolution, extends to Dr. Jim Kilbasso grateful thanks for his voluntary effort on behalf of all residents of the community during his period of dedicated service on the Environmental Commission.
Thank you, Ned.
Jay.
Let's take all in favor of the resolution, please raise your hand. Okay, resolution passes. And well, you know, I didn't realize that Jim had been on the Environmental Commission that long. And you know, I think both Susan and Jim had obviously very specific expertise that was very valuable to the commission. In addition to that, just their input and kind of thoughtful consideration of issues and their hard work was certainly appreciated, I think, by all of us. So I think they will be, both of them will be sorely missed, but you know, we have an opportunity now to get some new people on the commission. So that's, I guess, the positive side of the changes. Does anybody else want to make any comments before we talk about the new applicants for the 2 vacancies? Okay, thank you. Leroy, do you want to give us a little summary of the 3 applications? Now, they were in your packet.
I do have a vacuum going on in the background.
Oh.
I will say that all the applicants, we have 3. Some of you know Valerie Lafferty, who's involved with our energy team and is also involved with the Capital Area Sustainability Partnership. She decided to back out due to her other activities, but also because there was strong interest amongst other candidates. Let's see. You all know Kendra. Actually, Kendra is here with us tonight, who's been real active with recently with wetlands, but also on our Wednesday morning green dialogue sessions. You can look at her application. She's got a lot of experience with as a psychotherapist, clinical social worker, and I'm not prepared to do either of these applicants justice in a brief synopsis. But let's just say that she's demonstrated her commitment by showing up voluntarily to these meetings and her volunteer activities, which, by the way, if someone is not voted in, obviously there's opportunities to kind of follow in Kendra's footsteps, and Ben as well, and others like Elaine, who was on earlier, John Esser, and plenty of opportunities to plug in, whether or not you're an official member or not. But Kendra, thanks for demonstrating that over and over. Ike Ioki, I've known Ike for over 20 years. He recently moved to the township inquiring about a community garden in Ottawa Hills. If anyone has any leads for him, I think he's still looking, but he has over a couple of decades doing healthy community initiatives. Let's see, he's been involved with environmental activities. He was a volunteer for Michigan Energy Options after I left in 2002 for over a decade. His resume just kind of blows me away. So I'm not even going to try and attempt to summarize that. And then Anna, who is with us here tonight, who briefly introduced herself. her work as a senior research associate with Public Policy Associates, her involvement with food policy and lots of other things is also quite impressive. So we do have the opportunity to make a recommendation to Ron Steica. But if anybody wants to make any additional comments, that's my brief summary.
Thank you, Leroy. Yeah, I'll just comment that I think we have three very well qualified candidates, which is marvelous. And it's too bad we don't have three vacancies, but you know, we just have the two. And I do know I've had the pleasure of kind of seeing Kendra in action with the Green Dialogues on Wednesday morning. She's been real active in that area and has been really helpful related to the wetland brochure and education. And I wonder too, you know, Anna did a brief introduction, but let me give both Anna and Kendra an opportunity to kind of just kind of basically say what kind of inspired you to kind of apply to be on the commission. Let's start with Kendra. Go ahead.
Alrighty. Good evening, everyone. So I thank you for the opportunity. I applied because I have loved having the opportunity to get knowing all of you. I basically found a problem and turned, problem into problem solving, into solutions, and got connected with you folks here. I love being outdoors. It's my favorite place to be. I'm a strong advocate for environmental topics, and not only like nature outside the environment, but social topics. And I've been involved with policy. I work individually with groups. I've led people in all kinds of ways and helping all kinds of people and systems over 25 years. So I think you know me well enough to know at this point in time that I make things happen. And I'm new things that I'm having being a part of here is I'm going to have the opportunity, based on the advocacy I've been doing out here in Meridian Township, to be educating social workers throughout Michigan on advocating on environmental topics. So I'm kind of a leader in that category for the state of Michigan right now, and I'm gonna be training folks here in 2 months on that. So I don't know what more to say to you, because you know me pretty decently at this point in time. So
well, hey, thank you, Kendra. Yeah, thank you, Kendra. And Anna, you give us kind of an introduction. Would you like to make any further comments?
Yes, I would just say I'm a more recent resident of Meridian Township. So I've been in Meridian Township for around 3 years now, and I've been
looking for opportunities to be involved and to be more involved with the township. So certainly that's part of the decision to apply for, for this commission, as well as what I already said, that, it really aligns with a lot of the work that I do in the healthy community space. And certainly, the environment is a large part of the food system, where I also do a lot of work. So, I'm involved in the community in different ways, but I have been would like to be more of public service, and I really see the opportunity of this that aligns with some of the public service interest and work that I've been doing, as well as the environment, and both in terms of professionally some of the work I do, and then just the love of the outdoors.
Okay, thank you, Anna. Do any of the commissioners have any comments or questions for either of our potential commissioners? It looks like Bill's ready.
I was just going to say that we have a couple of applicants with us this evening who have interest and expertise in wetlands and in land preservation and in outreach and in policy. And those seem to be both really core substantive areas for this commission. and core competencies in terms of our outreach and legislative kind of mandate. So I'm delighted to see applicants coming to us to bring those kind of skills and expertise.
Anybody else would like to make some comments, or Ned?
I'm just wondering if it's time for me to retire to make 3 vacancies. All I think about is molecules, you know, they're pretty small. I don't know. I'm really excited about.
We don't lose you. We just lost 2 people.
Well, anyway, wow, this is it's really exciting to hear such passionate people with you know, skills that would complement the team that's already here. I wish we did have 3 slots.
Any other further thoughts or comments, or any suggestions on should we make a recommendation, or you know, another option is we can basically send communication to the supervisor that we think all 3 candidates are qualified, or we can basically say that with some other kind of qualifying statements if people would like to, like I think what you said, Bill, maybe would be an additional statement that could be made.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate to forward whatever is in our minutes to the supervisor.
That's a good approach. Yes. I like that approach. Okay. Other thoughts, questions? As it stands now, Bill has suggested, and I think it's a good one, that we basically have a short memo to the Mr. Stika and kind of share with him our discussions and minutes, which would include the comments by both Kendra and Anna, and then the comments that we've already made here. So any further thoughts or comments for kind of the, go ahead, Leroy.
Well, it may not be totally apparent by his application, but we have talked about environmental justice, and there's certainly an issue related to equity and inclusion going on right now in the township. Ike is a person of color, and hesitate to even bring that up, but I think having that perspective could add some diversity to our commission. I hesitate to bring that up right now, just because Anna and Kendra are right here, and Ike is not. But I agree that any of these 3 candidates would do a remarkable job, and I also would like to see whoever doesn't get appointed to plug in however they are inspired to do so, either on a subcommittee, as a volunteer, or a special project, such as Susan has mentioned, maybe wanting to stay connected through special projects in the future.
Yeah, thank you, Leroy, for that comment. And since it would be in the minutes, that can be shared with Mr. Stika also. And the good news is that we for sure will be diversifying the commission regardless of which of the 3 candidates are selected. You know, so that's a very good thing that you know, we had 2 women and a person of color apply to be on the commission.
And I just found out that Kendra is also biracial, by the way. Just adding that to the mix here.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And Anna has some background in from Germany. No, I'm just kidding.
No, well, I mean, way back, yes. Good guess.
Well, Mr. Stika will enjoy reading the minutes. That's great. Any other further thoughts or comments? Okay, super. Let's move on. Okay. The citizens' climate commitment. The energy team has been discussing this for last couple meetings, and my idea, it was part of the packet, but it's something that I would like to introduce tonight, and then give you all a chance to kind of think about it between now and the next meeting. So I don't expect that we take any action on it at tonight. You know, I would hope that in maybe our April meeting, we can endorse the concept. Just to give you just a brief introduction, it basically is the concept that, you know, the township board has declared a climate emergency. The electric grid is becoming increasingly renewable and clean, although it's a slow process. You know, if we think in terms of our community and the world being carbon free by 2050 or even before that, you know, we have to go beyond cleaning up the electric grid and really somehow deal with natural gas and gasoline and other fossil fuels. So, you know, a lot of people in this area have been talking about basically the strategy is to electrify everything, because while it's not true right now that the grid is 100% renewable, it is heading in that direction. So this idea is basically to have citizens make a commitment to consider electric alternatives at the time of they replace a piece of equipment or something fails, because you know, the equipment we're talking about has a long life, and so if 5 years from now somebody's furnaces dies and you know, furnace lasts 20 years, we're getting up there and approaching that 2050 and certainly going way beyond 2030. So the idea is not that people would automatically pledge to purchase the electric alternative, but they would give it some consideration, because of course the problem is that things fail, and then most people don't want to take a leisurely approach to researching options. They want their hot water or their heat on like the next day, you know, and you know, if a car needs to be replaced, you want a replacement vehicle right away. So that's basically the concept, getting people to kind of think about this issue. And basically the equipment that's part of this is gasoline vehicles to electric vehicles, gas stoves to electric ovens with induction stovetops, gas hot water heaters to heat pump water heaters or electric on-demand water heaters, gas furnaces to air source or geothermal heat pumps, gas clothes dryers to electric dryers, and gasoline yard equipment to electric models. And let me just read you the commitment statement that would be asking you and everybody to kind of sign and agree to. Recognizing that climate change is an emergency, I make a citizen's climate commitment that I will make energy efficiency a personal priority. And when I replace my vehicle, furnace, hot water heater, stove, yard equipment, or clothes dryer, or if I build a new home, I will consider electric alternatives to help my community become carbon free by 2030. So that's the basic concept. This is a voluntary program that really is basically an educational effort. So with that kind of introduction, let me give people a chance to ask questions, make comments. What does everybody think?
Well, it certainly seems laudable, and I'm not sure how the township might implement it. It seems like a natural thing that the Green Neighbors Network could distribute through that network, and it could somehow be promoted via township newsletters or other media. It seems like a good thing to do. I'm not quite sure how to put it into practice.
Yeah, you know, I think there has been a little discussion at the energy team about how to promote it. And yeah, I mean, your suggestion about the Green Neighbor networks is an excellent way to do that. I think, you know, we'll be talking about a web page with background information also, so that if people need to kind of start doing the research, there'll be some basic information links right there on the web page, and people would be asked to kind of sign up there. I think, you know, the intent too is that, you know, everybody in the energy team on the environmental commission would sign up and make that commitment. We'd of course talk to the township board and get their endorsement, have all of them sign up. And basically, some of it would be, I think, word of mouth. Basically, that people could post on their Facebook pages, or that they did this. They could talk to their neighbors, and so. But I think there's some kind of more organized educational efforts we could do too. But yeah, other that's a big issue, right? Go ahead.
I
Go
was,
ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, it might be a nice thing to once this is all, wrapped up, to share with the Greater Lansing Association of Realtors. I think that because most of these items, aside from the cars, have to do with how we're living in the systems in our homes. And I think it would be a lovely thing to pass on to people who are moving into the community, just so that they're aware of community, these are our community values. These are things that you can think about as you are moving into and potentially remodeling your new home. I just think it would be a great thing to pass on to people coming in.
And as I was kind of researching, this document, of course, there's all sorts of issues with respect to whenever you buy any sort of equipment or car. The reality is that natural gas is much cheaper than electricity. And so, at least in the short term, the operational costs for, natural gas equipment basically is cheaper. But again, we're getting people to think beyond kind of short-term economic issues, and the price of natural gas will be going up. There's no doubt about that. And the energy team is continuing to kind of look for ways that we can kind of within our umbrella of our climate emergency kind of get people thinking about these issues. Other kind of questions or thoughts? Okay, yeah, Leroy.
Say that since learning about this angle on electricity, that I felt a lot less guilty about turning on my electric space heater.
Well, don't overdo it. Okay. Well, like I said, I just wanted to introduce the concept, and we'll have it on the agenda for the April meeting. And feel free to send me comments by email if you so desire. And with that, we're on to the awards.
Wait, John, can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
So, I don't know. So are you sort of envisioning assembling a website or something like that that would offer advice as to, not just the sort of broader statement that it's a good idea to electrify, but allow a person whose water heater had just quit to go and, relatively quickly survey possible alternatives. And the reason I ask this is because then you potentially run afoul of the, I think there are rules about sort of government advocating specific sort of brands or companies or things like that. I don't know what the rules are exactly, but for instance, I don't think we could be saying, well, the whatever it is, the Kenmore washer that uses, a minimum number of kilowatt hours, et cetera, something like that. So how do you sort of navigate you want to provide people with enough information to, as you point out, sometimes they want to make a decision really fast because they want hot water the next day, like you're saying. But at the same time, you can't be telling them exactly what to do in terms of their, at least in a commercial sense. So how do we do that?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. The way it's set up now, there's about 2 or 3 pages of background information talking about some of the trade-offs and some of the advantages with the electric alternatives. And then there's links to hopefully what would be considered neutral sources of information. There is no kind of specific recommendation with any sort of brands or, that sort of thing, or specific companies, because I think you're right. That would not really be our role. So, I mean, basically what you can do now, if we go ahead and have this done and, have a web page, is you would go there and there'd be a one-page document, so it's not too intimidating, with basically an introduction and then a listing of the different equipment and alternatives, then with links to a little more detail about those alternatives, and then some further links to articles and websites like EPA and other government sources that have a lot of information about this. Now, some of it too can be, if you end up going to EPA Energy Star website, of course, they at that point talk about what's the most efficient equipment for, let's say, furnace, heat pumps. And so then they would get into kind of listing a whole bunch of, equipment, but certainly that's not on our website and is kind of removed from what we're kind of providing to the public. That's kind of the scheme now. And I tried to, you want some information, but you don't want so much information that people get overwhelmed.
Right.
So that's the way it's set up now, but I'm open to any suggestions. But other comments, questions? Yeah, and all that material was in the attachments. There's like I said, a one pager, which includes some of the material I just described, and then also 2-3 pages of more specifics and other links.
Yeah, I did see that. I just was sort of, taking one step further, and as you pointed out, that, sometimes the decision or the goal is to solve the problem very quickly. Just tell me what to get.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Well,
right.
Well, now, yeah, and actually, the approach here, of course, if it works, okay, is that no equipment has failed yet. Basically, people have kind of read this through, given it a little thought, and maybe actually done a little research beforehand, so that they have the time to kind of think about this, maybe even kind of see where they might purchase some things, and maybe do some research, like, electric vehicles now. There's a lot of different directories. It's not hard to find a kind of list of electric vehicles and what people think of different vehicles, all the different models that are coming out. So that's and actually that was brought up by somebody on the energy team, was that what about renters? Because a lot of this, as Rose pointed out, is basically home equipment. And that's why one reason we have electric vehicles there, and also why we then included also the issue of energy efficiency, because anybody can try to become more efficient through their, even if they're not buying equipment, they can change their habits. So, other kind of thoughts or questions? This has been very helpful.
Well, along those lines, it would be sort of evaluation of the energy costs of production of different things. Because okay, I'm speaking a little bit sensitively because I happen to have a generator at my house that runs on gas if the power goes off.
Yeah.
and although, that's relatively good from an emissions point of view, compared to coal or oil or something else, it's still a fossil fuel. And I would love to replace that with, batteries that were filled up by solar panels and so forth. But then there is the overall energy cost of the production of all of those things. And those are relatively complex systems that people might want to know about. Anyway, I'm just sort of considering how if somebody really said, I still want to maintain the ability to power my house when the power goes off, so they want backup, you're pretty much stuck with batteries if you aren't going to use a fuel, and that means that's sort of young technology. Let's just put it that way. Well,
although I think that everything you said is very true, and I think what is good about you just kind of talking about that is the whole point of this program is just to kind of challenge people and get them to think about, okay, I've got a generator at my home now. Is there a good alternative? And, you know,
Right.
should I look into that? Now, you know, any one of us might kind of go, okay, now let me think about that and talk to some people and realize that, boy, batteries aren't ready yet. And just, you know, I already got my generator. I'm not going to throw that out. So, you know, so it's just basically to get people to kind of think through the process. It sometimes people will decide that, yeah, it's just not the right thing to do.
Or, yeah, or with new construction, et cetera. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
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 I'm just interested in sort of educating how far we go in it, trying to educate people to, I mean, in a fairly deep way about things that aren't very familiar, like backup systems like that. Anyway, just curious about your thoughts there.
Yeah, well, no, you make a good point though, and I guess that leads me to the idea that you know, this is a piece of a larger effort on our part, the township, right, to deal with climate change, and so it's hopefully a piece, and there's other efforts out there from an educational perspective that are helping people make those decisions. But you know, if you start thinking about that list that I laid out and all the issues and, you know, yeah, it's not a slam dunk. At least I don't think so.
Certainly step by step. Yeah. Anyway, it's a great, you got to articulate your ideals before you can live by them. So yeah.
Okay,
I think
let's see.
Bill has a question.
Go ahead, Bill.
I was just going to say, in terms of pitching this to the township residents, I think a strong suit might be to start by promoting what the township is doing internally by meeting its own energy needs and reducing its energy footprint. And that the second half of our climate sustainability plan is to spread that from township facilities to the residents at large.
Good
It
point.
also occurs to me that this is kind of a really great entry level kind of commitment. Some people will take this and they'll actually go and do their research and say, well, if I had to replace each one of those things today, what would I do it with? And of course, that won't still be up to date when that equipment fails, but at least they'll have done the basic homework so that it's updating, not starting from scratch. And another level of folks will take one of the tools that's been mentioned in the My Solar Story discussions for kind of home energy audits. If I want to know which of these pieces of equipment is really contributing most to my carbon footprint, how do I do that? And I've heard folks in your discussions presenting some of those tools. So if those options can also be made available through the same kind of educational outreach program, I think, you know, you also want to capture people who are willing to do the deeper dive.
Good point. Yeah, maybe we can include some material on the website about those kind of options like energy audits that can help people sort things through. Yeah. Okay, let's see. I guess let's move on and let's see. Oh, awards. Leroy, do you want to say anything to introduce the topic?
What I could do is share what we've shared about a year ago about PRAST awards, you know, what the process is, the current form. I'm not really prepared to announce a plan right now, other than that this is an open opportunity if we want to nominate individuals or organizations or projects for recognition.
And refresh my memory, historically, have we given them out in the fall and the spring? Does that matter? I assume we need a certain amount of time to kind of announce that we're giving out awards and solicit nominations, but is this what do people think? Is this more like a summer, fall, spring activity? Earth Day, I don't know, of course, Earth Day is coming up real quick now, but
historically it was usually the April or May, I think, meeting where we would give them out, and we'd usually solicit suggestions from not from everybody, anybody, whether externally or from, members of the commission. And it could be for anything, including, for example, teachers who were, taking their students through whatever, creating rain gardens or whatever, to, let's see, well, anyway, Leroy may have a history of the awards somewhere. And we could perhaps, that might help us to think about kind of the model. But I think historically it did generate a certain amount of pride in the community and raise, people's awareness of how many passionate and active people we have in the community. And so I'd really like to see us continue it if we can.
Bill?
Yeah, I think we've got some real natural candidates that have sprung up in the last year or two. And I'm thinking particularly of brownfield redevelopment sites. We've got several places where recognized contamination has been cleaned up through public-private partnerships. The most visible of that is at Four Corners of Okemos, but there's stuff going on down in Jolly. I understand there's some other stuff going up in Hazlitt. And I think it's worth considering recognizing these kind of partnerships and cleaning up legacy environmental problems.
Well, I always found that when the awards were given out, that it was very educational to me personally, just to hear about what had been going out and on by different groups and organizations and individuals in the township. It was very, and it's inspiring and really good information. Well, let me just kind of, we're doing a lot of different stuff in the Environmental Commission, but I think we've done awards before, and I think it's a doable activity. Let me just ask for a show of hands. Do people think this is something we should do again? Is this kind of enough of a priority that we should kind of have it on our to-do list? If you think so, just kind of raise your hands. And
yeah, I think so.
Okay, I guess then I would suggest that Leroy, from your perspective, if you could provide some little background information for the next meeting, and also give some thought to maybe from your perspective, what would be a good schedule or a good timetable, that might be helpful for our next discussion.
That sounds good. I do have an opening in 2017, and I'll be happy to share that next time. But no, I'll put it in the packet.
Do you have there should be a list somewhere of the last 20 years of recipients.
Yep, it's been it was in a packet last year, and I'll dig it up and redistribute it.
Okay, good.
In April.
Yeah, I think it would help us, sort of understand at least some of the examples that illustrated how it was used.
Sounds good.
I think it would be helpful to have at least a draft timetable from Lord to give us a sense from his workload and perspective what kind of makes some sense. But okay, let's see. Moving on to green infrastructure grants. Lori, you want to give us a kind of an update?
Sure. I'm just responding to Home TV about environmental stewardship awards. It wasn't on the agenda, so they were curious where that fit as they're cataloging our meeting here tonight. We did receive a little bit more fleshed out proposals from a couple of the applicants, Okemos Schools and Montessori Radmore, but we have until March 15th, or we've outlined March 15th as a deadline for official proposals. What I would like to do is just share both of those responses with our initial team, because they've asked for feedback, and but I will let maybe Ben say a word or two, because he's been pretty active with the Okemos schools, and I appreciate your help with that, Ben. That's pretty much what I've got. So I'll distribute that to John and Rose, and I've
Courtney.
shared that with Ben. Courtney, thank you. Go ahead, Ben.
All right, so I've been working with Okemos High School Earth Club on, well, actually, I guess I've mostly been working on the design of a rain garden for the proposal, so then we can get a cost estimate and we can get a, an overall idea of effectiveness of the project. I'm actually not all that useful. They got Fishbeck Engineer, well, Fishbeck dot or whatever. It's an engineering firm in Charlotte, but so I'm just kind of a middleman who's here and then in the Earth Club, and with them. I don't have the engineering license, so I can't really do all that much to affect the project. But I've been just talking with them about an idea of the design. It looks like we're just going to put it right smack in the middle of where there's been a lot of flooding just south of the building, lead right into the pond, which is southwest of the chosen site. And then from there, it'll flow into the wetlands just northwest of all that by the pasture farms and all that. And the students are working on selecting flowers for a proposal, and they have everything set for the 15th. They were asking me, what should the proposal look like? And I don't know. I hope you guys are pretty accepting of different ideas. I don't know. I didn't really know what to tell them. So I said they probably have a good idea what it should look like. So.
Well, they are mini proposals. We don't expect people to write 100 pages, that's for sure. But the solicitation did include a basic framework of the different areas that should be covered.
Okay, yeah, that's good. So I think they'll be able to work off of that. We're meeting on Monday with the engineering firm, and I think they're gonna give their final initial plan. They're doing all this for free, by the way. They have a student at Okemos, so it was quite a blessing. So they're just throwing together a quick design and cost estimate, and we'll get word on Monday, and then their proposal should be sent in. Earth Club meets on Tuesdays, so should be sent in sometime after that. So, and I had been chatting with Laura during this meeting, and I think I might try and help you guys fill that other student position. I'll just, go to Earth Club, and there were 22 participants at the last meeting. So a lot of young people to get invested into the business. So I'm gonna see if I can get one for you guys. So.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Ben, for that and for your help with the rain garden project. That's great that you're in there kind of helping them.
It's great. I can get more experience in the field, like actual problems, not just theoretical school problems. I can actually apply myself a bit more. So I appreciate the opportunity. So thank you.
Other questions or comments?
Do you think should we have a joint meeting with Earth clubs from schools at some point? That would be sort of interesting. I mean, inviting the whole club or something like that, or maybe even meeting them at their timing, whatever it is, to kind of that might help kind of validate and encourage people to to not just to do it kind of as a school activity, but to identify it as something that they really value, that the community really values.
I like that idea. My only idea with all that is I don't know, the kids were really nervous for some reason when I was there. I'm only 3 years older, so I'll my perspective of being a student on the commission was I was like, I don't know what to say or if I should say it, and I don't know, they might be a little nervous, so it might take a little bit of patience to get them to talk. So
Bill?
I feel like I recall at some point in the Green Infrastructure Grant discussion talking about having the recipients present the project and its results at some point down the road. So maybe that's a way to approach it.
Yeah, I think, the discussion we had too was that the review committee will come to the whole environmental committee with our recommendation for funding. But like Courtney pointed out, the township board doesn't want to get involved in those decisions. They've delegated to us. But we talked about the winners, or maybe all of them, if they're all winners, making presentations to the township board too. But if there is a certain amount of nervousness, we could have them make a presentation to us, kind of a trial run, and then they could practice with us and then go on to the township board. Because I think the township board too would like to hear from the winning students or the winning projects at some point. Leroy?
John Esser mentioned that if we can document some of this on video, that would be another way to sort of simplify the presentation. So if the students did a video, all they might have to do is just introduce their video and then play that at a meeting as a way to kind of exercise their creativity, but also get some exposure. So just throwing that out there again, as Ben, if you want to encourage people to sort of document their process, take some shots, maybe if someone's got some video skills, just throwing that out there.
Cool, I'll let them know. Good idea.
Let me, here I'll put Ned on the spot, because, you know, we also talked about a tree project in Hazlet. And I believe there was, you're going to kind of ask some questions and see if there might be some interest.
Yeah, I asked my wife, who has been very active in the Hazlet schools, but of course our kids are done there, you know, and have been for quite a few years. But I asked her, you know, who to contact, and then I'm afraid that I dropped the ball going further. So, but I will do that. She's upstairs now. So
Okay, okay.
now that I've been reminded, I will do that.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think there's, as we all know, there's significant interest on the part of the township board to do another tree project, and Hazlet would be marvelous, yeah. And
Right.
as I remember, it wouldn't necessarily have to be the schools. It could be Hazlet Beautification Association or whatever the group is. So anything else about the grants before we move on to Tree City? Okay, moving on to Tree City. Rose, do you have an update for us?
This Tree City designation has blossomed into a multi-department effort at this point. We had a really great meeting. The deeper we delve into this, the more we realize how complex it is and how much overlap we have with different departments. We had a really great meeting with Luann from Parks, Derek from DPW, Jane from Parks and Land Management, Mark was there, Leroy, Bill and I were all there. The good news is this, that we've boiled it down, and we're gonna take a new, simpler tack. We're gonna try to make this simpler, rather than, I think before when I talked to you about this, we were talking about writing a new overarching tree care ordinance. And so now what we're looking at doing is having the Parks Commission, I'm sorry, the Parks Department take a look at this through their lens. And so rather than writing an ordinance, we're going to maybe we're going to compile the ordinance information that we have, and come up with some best practices and make a document that refers back to the existing ordinances that we have. So that's the plan. And then the other thing that we're looking at doing, because we do need to have a tree advisory board. Initially, I was talking about having our Commission on the Environment be that advisory board. And Luann had suggested that maybe we have one representative from each commission or each department on that board, just so that everybody's got everybody's on the same page and everybody's got a say. So I think we're onto something great. It's awesome that we have so much cooperation and so much interest from everybody. It's just a little more complicated than I initially thought it was going to be. We'll get there though.
Great. That sounded very positive.
Yeah.
Any questions for Rose? Or... Okay, let's see. Chair's report. Let's see. I don't think I have anything. Oh, I'll just mention that this morning at the Green Dialogue, we always have very good discussions, but the issue came up, or the suggestion about having a green fair at the marketplace. The Williamston supervisor had talked to Luann and kind of threw out the idea that Williamston Township might like to participate. And Luann apparently thought it was a great idea, especially utilizing the marketplace. And so that is, we discussed that at length. And it sounds like there's a lot of interest and kind of enthusiasm for doing like a green fair, maybe toward the end of the summer. It was also suggested about having like a scavenger hunt where different green stuff around the township could be on a list, and people might kind of go around and find different things and kind of check them off and have one of those programs, which could be of interest to kids for sure, but also adults. So that was a very interesting discussion this morning. Leroy, your report, staff report.
Just going to share my screen real quick. If people are interested in plugging into that dialogue session, there's a link at the top. Most of you have been there and know the link, so I don't have to tell you about it. But if anyone's listening or tuning in, it's the bit.ly link, Green Dialogue, and of course the green event John just mentioned is really exciting. It's one of the magical things that happens at these conversations, is just the networking and the ideas that feed off each other. And so, like the Tree City, this could be multi-departmental. When Parks gets behind something, they've got a real good staff, and most of you know Emma, Luann, Mike, Allison with the Nature Center. The other thing that came out of the green networking sessions was this, the Green Neighbors idea. And there's some discussion about maybe a leadership team, Sarah and Kendra, perhaps John, might be having some discussions about, how do we organize this better? How do we organize information? And then the idea came up today again about a potential training where we talk about a topic of interest, and that could be energy or water related. Today we also talked about ponds, and I was sorry Bill wasn't there, but I got over it by noon. And yeah, how do we do integrated pest management in some of these? Some of them are drainage ponds, but some of our maybe spring fed. I don't know all the details of our ponds in our neighborhoods, but Emma was at the meeting and talked a little bit about how we deal with that in some of the different neighborhoods. I guess they're also controlled by the Drain Commission, so I think Bill's involving the Drain Commission in discussions about the pond in his neighborhood, and possible demonstration project that he'll tell us about maybe. Green Gazette just came out. It's one of the ways that I try and assemble some of the things I learn about through you guys, gals and guys. I'm always looking for ideas and contributions, and I've created a directory. If you'd like to go to any of the back issues, you can see some of that and maybe contribute. We're talking about a recycling event maybe this spring or summer. Harris Nature Center has a plant sale going on. If you didn't hear about that, you may want to check our website. There's a community garden leader training happening right now. I mentioned Ike. Ike is looking for a plot or a public space. He's in the Ottawa Hills neighborhood, which I believe is the northwest corner of Okemos Road and Grand River, in that large neighborhood there, if I have my directions correct. If you have any ideas, let me know. And then we have some good green things coming up, SEMCOG next month, so tune in again. Thank you, Bill, for suggesting Lori. I thought she was a great person to talk about the MRF. because she's been involved with that for probably several years now. And then we have Paige Felice, who is coming up in May. A few other things here, but I'm not going to take any more time because I know we're getting close to our hour and a half here. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up later or tomorrow, or anytime for that matter.
Thank you, Leroy. Any questions for Leroy before we move on to the Transportation Commission?
Sure, just to stall. Can I stall for a second?
Sure.
Yeah. So Community Gardens, Ottawa Hills, does not Ottawa Hills back up onto the new pathway, the second phase of the interurban? And some of that property is land preserve. So maybe there's some opportunities over in that direction. But that's the last time I'm going to miss one of Leroy's Wednesday morning meeting. I was getting my teeth drilled, so I got a good excuse. But
it's not my conversation. It's ours. I just
All right.
provide the Zoom link.
You're the spark.
We did assign you something today, which I'll tell you about later. You're going to be organizing the Green Fair that John mentioned. So that's what you get for not showing up.
But that's only after you're done building the second half of the interurban to the location.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. Land preservation is pretty protective of their habitats, but that might be, maybe there's a plot in there somewhere.
Some of it's not all that great.
Oh, so Transportation Commission.
The Transportation Commission has not last met on January 21st, so has not met since our last meeting.
Okay, Planning Commission.
Planning Commission last met on February 22nd, and the main issue on that agenda was a public hearing on a zoning amendment to amend the Code of Ordinances to require Township Board approval of special use permits for motor vehicle sales and service establishments. So it has to do with a prior zoning change that was made that allowed some dealerships. And if you're familiar with what's been going on up on Grand River by Powell, tempers are a little bit strained. So trying to create a few more steps of review on large impervious surface uses, of which a car dealership is towards the impervious side of that is the issue there. Similar issues arise in the mixed-use plan unit development ordinance review with where decision-making authority lies for different mixed-use plan unit development permits, and that discussion continues.
Okay, Michigan Township Association, the state legislature.
Oops, get myself unmuted here, but yeah, a couple of things. One is, I'm sure most of you are aware that the governor has come out earlier this week with some softening of some of the restrictions regarding COVID. And I think one in particular could impact local units of government. There will be allowing up to 25 people in person gatherings now. So that could potentially open up this commission to meet in person, as well as things like the township board. So that starts as of Friday, I believe, and goes for the next 6 weeks. In addition, just one other thing to make you aware of, there's House Bill 4236 has been introduced by Representative Markkanen from the UP, and it has to deal with lifting the 1% cap on distributed generation. And so there has been one hearing already on the bill. I'm not real optimistic that it's going to go too far real quickly because the major utilities are still opposed to the legislation. But, you know, if it should move forward, that would be a great opportunity for more solar developments for residential activity. So other than that, I guess that's about it at this point.
Thank you, Tom.
Yep.
Let's see. Well, we don't have anybody on the Land Preservation Advisory Board anymore, right? So let's see. Green Team. Yeah.
Just briefly, I want to just mention that Kendra and Anna have expressed an interest in joining the Land Preservation Advisory Board, and so we may, I just throw that into the further discussion perhaps of potential candidates, is that we might either or might become a representative to our commission, so in the future. So that's it.
Yeah, and could you go ahead, Bill?
Yeah, sorry if this is out of place, but when Tom was talking, I was recalling the discussion of the next phase of the township's solar array on the service center. And I'm not sure that that's been discussed here, and I was wondering if somebody wanted to give a plug.
Yeah, basically, we're hoping to extend the contract with Absolute Solar. They've provided a kind of an estimate and a plan for that. So Derek is in the process of writing up a contract. There's looking at full offset for the energy use, which is pretty impressive. I think it's close to 140 kilowatt system, which is 7 times as big as the one out in front of the township hall. But do you want to add anything to that? Anybody? John?
Well, I just mentioned, you know, that's was a big part of the last energy team's meeting is, you know, we talked at length with Rob from Absolute Solar, and, you know, it sounds like it's working out really well because one thing that's happened is because we're negotiating a contract extension, they were able to kind of get a sharp pencil and get the price on a watt basis much lower. Of course, there's economies of scale too. So it's a good sized system and also a very good price too. Anything else about the green team, Leroy?
We meet next week if anyone wants to participate in that, to try and come up with a date for a spring or summer recycling event.
Rose, environmental justice. Any news?
I don't have any specific news, but I do want to share with you, I'll put it in the chat. I do want to share with you a link to a conversation that I sat in on with the Michigan Environmental Justice Coalition. It's another one of these fireside chats that they did. I think I talked to you about one last time. This past month, they just talked about water, equity in water, and it was very educational. It's a loaded topic. They talked about specifically what was happening in Flint, a little bit about what was happening in the schools in Detroit. But what I love about these discussions and what I think is really important is that the panelists that they have presenting these issues are on the ground organizers. They are full of emotion. They are not always politically correct. And it's just so nice to be getting this information kind of firsthand from people who are really dealing with these issues. So please check it out if you have a chance. I guess the big takeaway that I wanted to share with you was, again, they talked about the domino effect and how, you know, these issues of clean water, who's going to end up with the bill. The cities are putting assessments on people's homes. People are being driven out of their homes. So not only is the water an issue, but then it kind of cascades into housing issues and cascades into all of these other issues. So really everything's very interconnected. It was interesting. I'm putting it here in the chat for you now.
Thank you, Rose. And let's see. Oh, I already talked about the energy team because we talked about the citizens' climate commitment and the new solar array, and that leads me to Brownfield Redevelopment Authority.
Yeah, so like Bill, this commission, that group has not met either since our last meeting. They canceled the planned meeting that was to be, I guess it was last week, basically for lack of activity. So they, Peter Menser promises us that we're going to have a meeting next month, but we did not have one this week, this cycle.
Okay.
I had a question though, back to the your discussion of the solar panels just reminded me of a question I had back in the minutes. So the minutes talk about kilowatt numbers. Do we have any actual measure of kilowatt hours, you know, generated and so forth? Because it would be great to be able to boast to the township that, you know, this many tons of CO2 have been essentially displaced by the array that we have, and then, you know, sort of projected by the arrays that are going up. I think kilowatts are kind of theoretical things for most people, but tons of CO2 is at least something a little more physical sounding.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
just curious if
in
those
the
numbers.
proposal from, I'm glad you kind of raised that. The proposal from Absolute Solar does include those sorts of measures to kind of make it more real for folks that, you know, with respect to, I think, the number of trees planted and tons of carbon dioxide. So, you know, Leroy could share that page from their proposal, which might, you know, give us all a sense for what the impact is for us putting that 142 kilowatt array on the service center.
Yeah, that would be great. Just, I mean, you know, or it could be put in terms of gallons of gasoline or, you know, something
Yeah.
like that too. It doesn't matter, but.
Yeah, they had, they Absolute had 3 different, I'm pretty sure one was tons of carbon dioxide and one was trees planted, and maybe they had cars too. I kind of forget what the third one was, but yeah, let's share that with you because it's interesting. It can make it more meaningful, right? Yeah, and let's see, Board of Trustees, Courtney's not here, so let's see, anything further for the good of the cause? And this is our opportunity for public remarks too, if Kendra wants to say anything else, but or anybody on the commission. Any further questions, thoughts before we adjourn? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn? Okay, from Bill, second. Thank you, Tom. All in favor? Okay, hey, thank you, everybody. Take care.
Great meeting, everybody.
Nice job, John. Thank you.